So I'm looking at this young little girl. She should be intimidated. The imagery, kind of is larger than her, but her pride is so admirable.
And I see strength in a young girl, a young Black girl, who was determined to get an education. In order to get that education, she had to be protected.
How could we be a nation that constructs spaces where children are not fully welcome?
And all of a sudden, a black car pulled up in front of the door. And it was the U.S. Marshals arriving to pick us up. Well, I didn't know they were coming, but of course everybody else did. But I remember the silence that came over in the house, so I knew something was going on.
There were policemen everywhere. Some were on horseback and motorcycles, and all of that is what you see during Mardi Gras season to control the crowd.
My brother said that my daddy always said that was the school I was going to, but he didn't realize what he was putting me into.
I was scared, confused. What could I have done to make them act that way at 6 years old?
After that first day and knowing what your baby had walked into, how did you feel?
It was ordeal. Very, very, I was afraid. My baby, 6 years old, didn't have but that one. I was scared. My pastor came and he prayed with us and he said, don't worry, see, everything gonna be okay.
So the school board decided that not only would these 4 girls desegregate the public school system in 1960, but that they would stay at the front lines of public school desegregation each year thereafter.
He was the biggest, most celebrated American painter at that time, at a time when someone who was at his level of notoriety could have a great deal of impact and influence.
I'd like to read this letter from art editor Allen Hurlburt of Look magazine to Norman Rockwell. Dear Norman, as you know, Dan and I are very excited about your idea for a painting of the Negro child and the Marshalls.
And according to Allen Hurlburt, this was Norman Rockwell's idea, how to portray a child, a young girl with the U.S. Marshals.
Who is the little girl in the image? Well, we know that Norman Rockwell used models. He often used his neighbors. He often used people that he knew as models for these images before he actually painted them.
She thought of herself as the model. Other people around her, very close to her, would say it's almost as if, it's about you. And she hated that. She absolutely hated that. My mother did not want to take away from the girls. And I remember her saying this. She never had to go through any of that. She grew up in Stockbridge. She was never spit on, called names. She was never called any of that.
As with many of Rockwell's paintings, the title, The Problem We All Live With, was given to the painting by the editors of the magazine.
Now there's a lot of ambiguity in that title. What is the problem? Who is we? Who is all?
The problem we all live with has multiple meanings, depending on who you are when you come to the image, where you are at the time, and it could shift over time. That's the beauty of art. That's the beauty of language.
We might ask ourselves why one individual painting is so important. And I'd like to acknowledge that not only is Norman Rockwell's painting important to our nation, and in fact has been appreciated around the world, but it's particularly important to the people of New Orleans who see it as narrating their history and their story.
Sometimes the artist will take liberties with the truth and sacrifice parts of the story to, have the impact. But it's super important that the 4 girls be commemorated, in my opinion, because, like I said, they took the equal step.
It has always bothered me that he chose to do just one of the girls instead of 4.
Gail Etienne, Ruby Bridges, Leona Tate, and Tessie Prevost. Those 4 girls at 6-year-olds were the first to desegregate New Orleans public elementary schools on November 14, 1960.